Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's another Thursday, and
Wednesday for us.
I regret to inform you all that we were supposed to have a guest this week. Unfortunately, some plans with that fell through.
We still maintain good relationships, and hopefully we'll get those guests back on later.
And it's still fine because there is so much to talk about this week anyway, particularly kind of in the gaming sphere. And also there's like a big Yu-Gi-Oh story that I think everybody wants to, it's kind of the talk of the town.
All sorts of little nonsense that we like to yapper on about.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys enjoyed last week's Emptying the Pot episode. That was a lot of fun. You
guys had some good questions, long questions, and I'm starting to think you guys are taking it as a personal challenge to write as long of questions as possible, because no matter how many times we comment on how long the questions are, they just get longer.
Also, we will address the negative review that a person left on the podcast at the end of this episode.
That's right. It's at the end, not the beginning.
I've been putting it off for a couple of weeks. We'll either have to fast forward
or just watch the whole thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been putting it off a couple of weeks, and so like I know that people have been waiting, and I need to deliver on that.
I'm really not looking forward to it, even though I think negative reviews can make us better. I just can't take criticism. It's not in me.
Trust me, we know.
Wow, I don't like the way you said that.
Only kidding. Now, before we get into all of that, I did want to shout out the fact that we've got over 150 channel memberships here, which is a huge deal. I didn't think that
150 people made a mistake.
Yeah, I know. And so the goal is to get to 200 channel members. So if you want to financially support the pod, feel free to become a channel member. It's the join button right underneath.
Join the family of greed.
But yeah, that should be the name. But if not, then you can always just leave a 1 in the premiere chat and maybe thumbs up the video.
One's up, live.
That stuff helps as well.
Premiere gang, rise up.
Yeah, it shares it out to more people, disseminates it and such. Okay, I have stalled long enough. It's time to talk about the big Yu-Gi-Oh story of the week.
Yes, and that is
Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem got a delay in European territories.
Now, I know to a lot of you guys, this is old news, but technically this happened last week, and we didn't actually do a normal pod last week, so this is new for us.
Yeah, and don't worry, we're going to actually talk about the big thing about the Time Wizard stuff, but I figured this was important to cover real quick. So, Konami EU issued a product update where they said, unfortunately, the release date for Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem is being pushed back for most territories. There was a production problem that resulted in clumping of the Starlight rares into a portion of the print run. This would have resulted in more Starlights for some, but fewer Starlights for others, so production will be redone so that the entire release is consistent, but this will take time. And the delayed release date affects Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Oceania, as well as Spanish and Portuguese cards for Latin America. English language cards for Latin America, Canada, and United States are unaffected and will have their originally announced release date. The revised street date for affected territories will be announced as soon as available. We'll do everything we can to expedite this. So, hit me. What do we think about this? Because Battles of Legend itself is supposed to have been releasing this week for everybody.
Right.
But
now it's just different for us.
Yeah.
So my first thought is, why not just leave it the way it is? If we're sealed product openers anyway, we're kind of gamblers, right?
Oh, you're saying like let the chaos reign sort of thing?
Because if you like, this is only to the sealed product buyers. Wouldn't you rather take the gamble that your case has more Starlight rares than normal? Or would you rather just get a regular case where it's all evenly distributed and you can't get a quote unquote God case?
Yeah, my understanding of what was happening was that you could actually tell from some of the early content creator opening reveal things. A lot of the European creators would be getting 3 Starlights in a box or something. But then I guess some other people were maybe getting none. Or the North American creators were just getting the normal amount, which is to say maybe they'd get 1 in every 3 boxes. So what Konami's describing here is if you're chaotic, like Alex says, you can take a chance and get a box and it might have 3 Starlights in it. But you also might get a box that has none. And while that does sound crazy, it kind of doesn't feel like it would even be that bad. Maybe I'm just a little too chaos brained too, but because think about it, right? Most boxes, even under normal printing circumstances, you aren't likely to get a Starlight.
Yep.
Right? If it's 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, then the average person still isn't going to get one. But it just means that when you do happen to get one, if you are lucky enough to get one of those boxes, then you'll just get like 3 Starlights, and it's kind of crazy or whatever,
I think I just find that more interesting. I know it's fairer, and I think by like regulations around the world that they actually have to keep it standard. But to me, the fact that there can just be these, God boxes, that's more fun to chase than just I might get my 1 Starlight rare, 1 in every like 4 boxes or whatever. Like,
yeah, I remember that anytime that Konami's had like major clumping issues, like there was that one incident maybe a couple of years ago where a pack, maybe this like Darkwing Blast or something, some shop had a case where like every box had like a Starlight in every pack or something. Like it was crazy.
Lord.
And they took a picture of it and put it on social media, and like Konami made them send it all back.
Oh, I do
you remember this?
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember commenting, "Boy, I wouldn't send that back. That's mine now."
Yeah, that's what I was like. I mean, like, what if they just didn't send it back?
Oh, it got lost in the mail. I tried, but I don't know.
So that was kind of crazy. But the more practical ramification of this change, though, or this delay, is that Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem will not be legal for a lot of the nationals that are happening in Europe and some of these other territories they mentioned.
Right.
Because those cards just literally aren't available. And so, like, if you're playing in the United States or I guess North America, like World Championship qualifier, then you can use the new Orcust cards, for instance, the new Dragon Maids or, the Jirok stuff in here. But in Europe, that metagame will look a little bit different. And so some players are upset because if you're like a player who, I was like planning on taking a Jirok build to Nats or something, then you just can't anymore. And
you might argue maybe you shouldn't have, like.
I mean, hey, I don't know. Like I haven't looked into all the new archetypes and stuff that get support in here. So I'm sure there were things that might have actually shaken up the metagame. But I do... It kind of, if that's the case, it does make me think that they maybe just should have just released it and just let everybody have their cards.
Let it rock. I mean,
I don't know.
Because at the end of the day, players just want their cards so they can just build their decks and play.
Because the Starlights aren't actually, like, they're just Starlights. Like,
yeah,
the regular cards are still on the set.
It doesn't affect your playing experience. It just affects your opening experience. And a lot of players buy singles anyway, so it's not that big of a loss. But I do know for a fact that with like gambling laws and regulations, they cannot actually allow the clumping issue unless it is printed somewhere prominently that
this is like a thing
that as a normal function of this product. So I mean, I get it. It's just not as fun.
Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting thing. That's technically old news. Like this has been talked about at length, but we're just catching up. The more important big story of the week revolves around the Time Wizard format changes that were kind of just dropped on us on last like Saturday night randomly.
Yeah, something like that.
So here's how WIGA organization puts it. For reasons unexplained, Time Wizard will now be a less than accurate mirror of the past. So Time Wizard events use the available cards, forbidden and limited lists, and rules regulating drawing on the first turn and the dueling field of the selected Time Wizard format. But according to Konami, starting at the North American World Championship qualifiers, current game mechanics and current card text will be used for the Time Wizard events. So this changes a lot. This means that the 3 most prominent Time Wizard events that they're going to be holding at the North American World Championship qualifier are April 2014, aka Hat format, March 2010, Edison format, and April 2005, which is basically GOAT format. You have to now use updated card text, which means that some of the cards like Brain Control or Brionic that were outright errated, Treeborn Frog,
heavily errated,
Ring of Destruction, will all use their updated text. Also, game mechanics and rules that have been changed since those periods of time, like Ignition Effect Priority, but also like where card effects, like say like what's the one that everyone talks about, Elemental Hero Absolute Zero.
Oh, yeah, the thing about when it leaves the field, getting to blow up the field, but if it goes to the extra deck, it can't get that effect.
Yeah, and then certain other things like Rivalry of Warlords and Goes and Match kind of had different rulings back then. Like you could tribute a monster to change the type that you're locked into. You can no longer do that with modern rule sets. And there are some cards where the erratas are just extremely, like, they just change the entire nature of the card, like Goyo Guardian requiring like an Earth Tuner now and stuff. It's just very... it effectively kind of removes it from the format.
Yo, I forgot about that. That was a crazy errata. I don't think we've ever seen an errata quite like Goyo's ever again.
Yeah, it's heavy-handed. So there's a couple of things to break down here. The first one being like the errated kind of updated text. The second one being the rules and stuff. And then the third thing being, I guess, like some of the more miscellaneous aspects related to the first two. Where do you want to start? What do you think? What did you think when you heard about this?
I thought it was pretty cool that in Edison you can use the extra monster zone now.
Right, that's right.
I mean, well, what? You can't?
No, you can't.
But it's a game mechanic.
I do think it'd be kind of interesting if they said that.
So what? We're just picking and choosing which mechanics we can bring like forward or backwards in this case.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels heavy-handed, where they want to just bring these older formats in line with the current rule sets and mechanics to make it easier. I'm assuming to make it easier to judge and officiate.
That was a big thing that came up, was the judge thing. Like a lot of judges who were designated to judge like a Time Wizard event at a YCS maybe were trying to read these cards and rule them as you would a modern card, but Time Wizard formats
literally can't do that.
Tend to have kind of their own little like Time Wizardisms, or it's like, yeah, this is how like it just worked back then, and so.
And we had some wonky rulings back then.
So
we still do.
You're right. Like the judge part was probably a big thing, like for logistics.
Like, I just think that if we're gonna do it, we should be as chaotic as possible.
I think
extra monster zones in GOAT.
I think something else that. So here's where my mind went. The judge logistics, number one, I think is probably a big influence of this decision. I also think Master Duel probably had something to do with it, because in Master Duel, they will run duel trials that are roughly based on these formats like GOAT and Edison. But in Master Duel, it's always been a bit of a complicated issue because the game will always use the updated text of these cards that have been errated, and it will always use the modern rulings around like what it means to leave the field, or obviously it won't have ignition effect priority and stuff. So my guess would be that they want Yu-Gi-Oh! To just be a consistent experience no matter where you play it. And since a lot more people play Master Duel than the TCG now, it's if a person was introduced to Edison or GOAT through Master Duel, they would just be getting a different experience than what the actual thing is, and so they just want consistency.
Though I can certainly see why people wouldn't care for these changes, because, you know, GOAT, Edison, these were formats that players created because they enjoyed playing the original so much and they were disenfranchised with the modern game.
Yeah.
The purpose was to capture a snapshot of those formats. Konami, for their own like ease of like officiating, now has changed the very nature of those formats, and that's literally the opposite of what those formats were meant to do.
Yeah, I think there's a certain portion of people, probably a large contingent of people, were playing because they wanted to truly experience the game as it was back then, wonky rulings and all. I don't play a lot of Edison myself. So the honest to goodness truth is, like, this is not a change that means a lot to me personally. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! During that period of time, and I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, but I'm not like a, going to Edison, going to Ultimate Time. I got
2 Edison decks.
The thing is, though, I think this change creates a little bit of confusion around, like, there's like a new logistical confusion that enters the fray, which is a lot of players use old rarity printings of Edison cards.
Yep.
Like maybe I want my super rare thing that was like printed in a turbo pack or a tournament pack from back then. And we know that cards from back in the olden days did not always have like very clear wording. They hadn't developed problem-solving card text yet.
It's a wild west of text back then.
And that used to kind of be a flex. Like, okay, I'm going to go play, GOAT or Edison. I'm going to use like these high rarity printings of these cards from back then. But now there's a real incentive to kind of get the newer cards with the newer printings for judging consistency and like clarity's sake. And that's probably why they have been doing that like nostalgia pool in the quarter century bonanza and quarter century stampede.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of this.
This gets newer printings of those cards into circulation, even if it is limited enough.
Yeah, so there's that part. There's also a bit of an asterisk around like results now too, I think. Like if you play in the official Konami version of Edison now with these errated cards and kind of a lack of priority and some different rulings, and you win at that, is that the same as winning at maybe the independent like player run version of this event?
I mean, it's not even real Edison, so.
Well, which one is real Edison?
I mean,
that's actually like seriously, like is real Edison what the official first party company says it is now, or what the players kind of previously decided it is?
I mean,
or when you say decided, but
the
what
Edison
they emulated.
format was recreated by players for players. Mm-hmm. People were happy when Konami adopted it because now they could get like prizing and notoriety for actually being good at these formats. And then Konami changed it. I think what we now have is New Edison, which makes absolutely no sense. You can't, I know they don't say Edison, they use the date of Edison, but that date holds no like meaning anymore.
Yeah, it feels like the date is simply to determine the card pool, but nothing more.
At this point, they might as well call the format like these sets through these sets. I don't remember which sets are legal at that point, but they might as well just like if you denote it by set, then I think if it feels a little bit better than calling it a Time Wizard format because we're no longer playing back in the day. We're just playing today with old cards.
Something interesting that I've seen reception-wise is obviously most people seem kind of upset about this decision. I have seen some of the more devout Edison players, like Fraser Smith. I was watching like a live stream that he was doing a few days ago when this was announced. They're kind of just adapting. They're like, well, I'm going to just learn both Edisons. I know the old Edison pretty well, and I'll also learn the nuances of new Edison, what cards were nerfed, what was buffed, who are the winners, who are the losers. And I have a lot of respect for players like that who are just kind of like, at the end of the day, they're going to Yu-Gi-Oh! You know what I mean? Like
Yu-Gi-Oh! Player's going to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Whatever the rules are, they will simply learn them and use them to the best of their ability. Because here's the thing, right? On one hand, there are a lot of people who feel really shafted by this. There are people who... Also, quick thing, I think that they should not have made this change before this upcoming North America World Championship qualifier. I think they should have said that these changes are going to start taking effect in the fall Yu-Gi-Oh season or something to give a bit of a heads up.
But I think they specifically wanted to actually enact it before then so that they could have an easier time setting up their judge situation.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, there are people who have made their plans, their travel plans for nationals, and this feels like a bit of a rug pull. But honest to goodness, like, there is a counter argument, which is that, like, what sort of, when I look at what's given a lot of Edison notoriety recently, or legitimacy, is that Konami has been making playmats and other prizing, like giant cards that they give out at these Ultimate Time Wizard events. And it kind of makes me think, I do think players want that stuff still. Like I remember seeing like the Super Nimble Mega Hamster mat, or like those giant Pot of Greed cards. We have one you can vaguely see in the background back there.
Giant's a stretch, but okay.
Oversized. But I couldn't afford that giant one. That thing was so expensive. Yeah, and so like you can sort of run your homemade Edison, I guess is what Konami would call it now, for like cash that many shops do. They do like Edison monthlies and stuff. But I do think that with like the rift between it muddies the waters a lot. I don't know. I'm just curious how like is a good Edison player somebody who like tops the former type of Edison? Is it a person who tops the current type of Edison? Is it someone who can do both?
It's not about being an Edison player. It's about being a Yu-Gi-Oh player at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. You could argue that this change is is the best thing you could have ever given Time Wizard format players. For the first time in years since those formats ended, those formats can finally change. New rulings, you're saying, like, new interpretations, new mechanics.
So there's more to figure out now because like you are unsnapshotting it to some degree, and so like everyone's sort of put on this scramble to figure it out.
You still have your same pool of cards, But now you can think about them in a different way. For some people, I imagine they find it a bit exciting because, you know, Edison is a quote unquote solved format. You know, GOAT is a solved format.
Certainly more so GOAT than Edison.
Now they're not so solved.
Yeah, that's an interesting sort of angle on it too. Like, I want to reiterate, you know, I don't play Edison, so for me, this is an intriguing change because I guess I'm just more interested in like the decision behind it, and it reminds me that I think Konami really probably should have added a bit of extra communication here. Like, it's Konami. I'm not expecting them to really ever pull back the curtain.
Give us an essay.
But, like, I think that they should have said with this announcement, they should have been like, okay, after surveying players and judges at events, these were some difficulties that we, you know, have observed and like the people described. And so here's why we were making this change.
Oh, they could never.
It wouldn't even really soften the blow a bunch. Like, it's still, you know, but I do think like it's just one of those cases where it's like Konami is just saying on a random Saturday night at like 9 p.m., here's a new rule, deal with it, and you will get nothing more. And it's just like, I don't know. That always sucks. Like, do you remember when we covered that one story from Lorcana when they did their first ban list? This was a few weeks ago now.
I do vaguely remember, yes.
And on their page, they just said like, you know, you are still free to play this ban card at your kitchen table with your friends and family. We encourage you to do that, fine, but it's just when you play in tournaments, here's how it's going to work. Mm-hmm. I think that Konami even saying something like that, where it's sort of a nod to the existing Edison scene.
Go home.
Yeah, sorry, just say that. Yeah, as a nod to the existing Edison scene, that might have been good, but
I mean, this reminds me a bit of when Wizards took over the Commander format. Because like Commander, these Time Wizard formats were essentially duelist-run events, and the community decided what the rules would be, and the community decided the rules would be what they were. Yeah. And then Konami said, nah, you know what? This is ours now, and we're changing the rules. Isn't that fun? The corporate entity just
they kind of step on the thing that,
and then they changed it.
Yeah, and
I hope the pricing is worth it. I hope you like the new mats and stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough one. I will say though, just because we're trying to consider all the angles here.
There's still another angle at this point.
Well, it's kind of the same angle that we talked about before, but like. It kind of means Ultimate Time Wizard might be a little easier at Nets. Because all these people who are sort of defiantly protesting it, right? Like, I'm going to like boycott this. I'm not going to enter. I even saw that there is an Edison format tournament that's going to be held like at a separate venue the same weekend in like Indianapolis. And it's going to be like a separate thing, and they're encouraging people to kind of go there and protest instead of like playing at the Ultimate Time Wizard.
Oh, so they're going to play like regular Edison.
Yeah. And I'm interested in seeing how that turns out. I'm not taking a side in that particular debate. You know, do what you want, whatever. I do figure if you have already made your reservations for Indianapolis anyway, then maybe it wouldn't hurt to pop in and see what it looks like. I'd be curious what the attendance numbers are and what the logistics are and who the judges for that will be. But anyway, though, the point I was going to make is like, well, if you have a bunch of people who are angry and saying like, I'm not playing any more Edison because Konami ruined it, well, it's like maybe it's a good time to sneak in and get your free giant cards at this Ultimate Time Wizard that might not cap an attendance. And
free. Did you say Fraser Smith was up there like plotting?
See, that gets into the scary part because it's like there's going to be a little controversial to say. It's a bit of a hot take. But there are people who, you know, when these changes get announced, are angry with it and quit. There are people who are angry with it and adapt. And so if you kind of are upset or dissatisfied with it, but you still adapt, like, you know, Fraser Smith and other people, then you'll probably be finding their way. Like, because for him, you know, and he's not the only one. I know there's like a lot of really good Edison players. I think he's kind of one of those people who's like, he's in it for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, whether or not these changes exist, he is still like, you know, like a top level player of that general format, and he is more likely to still just do well at the Neo Edison thing happening than most people are. So, and it's like now if that new Ultimate Time Wizard thing that they do at Nats has like half the attendance, then it's just that much easier to get a giant Spirit Reaper, a giant Chaos Emperor Dragon or whatever. And like, so I don't know. I mean, there's certainly something to be said about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Time Wizard formats, I think, draw out some of the sweatiest Yu-Gi-Oh players you'll ever see. I find that Time Wizard players are more analytical than the average Yu-Gi-Oh player. I feel like a lot of us in the modern game, you know, we get drunk on the gas of the game, and we're just like go 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 go. You know, we're pounding energy drinks between rounds. We're just so hyped up with just how crazy the game is. But
some people are pounding something. I'm telling you what.
Woo. In these Time Wizard formats, though, that's where you get these like slower, more methodical players. They'd researched these formats up and down through their entire historical data. They've gone through the card pool. They know the cards. They know the combos. They know the interactions and the rulings from way back when.
It's the fact that, you know, it's just, people have described this many times. Edison is testing for a different kind of set of skills. Yeah. It's not to say that it is like easier or harder or better or worse, but like playing 2010 like Edison is just different than playing 2025 modern. These are different Yu-Gi-Ohs. Like, it's plain and simple.
I remember when we were at TCGCon. I think that was the last TCGCon.
Yeah.
Some guys wanted to play some Edison, and so I played against one, and Alex played against another. Alex didn't have an Edison deck, so the guy gave Alex a deck to play, and then I watched as the guy essentially coached Alex through the deck he was playing, told him all the moves that he could and would make before he could make them.
He's
and
very
then
familiar.
Let him know like 3 or 4 turns in, okay, I just win
like,
here.
Here's how I'm going to counter. And, you know, what's interesting about that too is that like Edison in that way is a little bit tricky because it's touted as it's like the simpler, slower Yu-Gi-Oh! And the card effects are literally shorter and like more straightforward. But at the same time, you know, you don't quite get to blame your loss on just, oh, like I lost the coin flip and like I got OTK or like invincible board, whatever, you know.
It's all strategy.
Because cards do less, they are worth more in a sense. And so it's like a whole thing. But I guess to get back to the main topic here, is it overall an L or a W, do you think? Like just this
I knew you were going to toss that to me. I was like, okay, it's time.
Well, no, I'll answer.
It's time. Okay, good.
Okay, Alex doesn't want to have his, doesn't want to be put on the spot here. I know that it's not, I know that is like a difficult question to answer in like just like a simple like good or bad, black or white. I think this is a change that when I first read it and first watched people's reaction, I thought huge L from Konami. Now I am finding myself thinking that this might be something. Alex is waiting for me to come in.
I'm just waiting to hear L or W.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think it is whatever letter is between those in the alphabet.
Wow.
I don't know what letter that would be.
Coward.
But I really do think like I'm just somewhere in the middle now because I really do think that this has the potential to bring more people to Edison. And that sounds weird, but like I think that Neo Edison is going to just become a thing. There will be people who don't want to play it, but there will be people who just will, like who don't mind.
Sounds like you want to give us a big old W.
Yeah, it's a Konami W.
Konami dub. I give it an L.
Choice.
I think I can't stand when businesses like take things that are player made and then they pervert them for their own use. L for Konami. Keep Edison the way it used to be, but at the same time, I will be playing new Edison going forward.
Wow, good to hear. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't actually play Edison.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, I don't play Edison myself, so like I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm more interested in seeing how it pans out. I want to hear.
So you don't have a Raikou in this fight?
I don't have a Raikou Lightsworn Hunter in this fight. But I do want to hear what people think about it. You know, and I want to hear what do you think about it. Not so much like what your favorite content creator maybe has expressed about it or what just the general masses of comments on the internet are saying. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this is a bad thing?
How will this affect you, if it'll affect you? Mm-hmm. Do you even play Time Wizard formats? Let us know.
Yeah, I'm curious, because there's also, like, if you don't play Time Wizard formats, how does this look kind of more from the outside looking in?
And if you think Paul should play Edison, then, just keep spamming that in chat, and we'll get him on.
Right, okay. So, last couple of just like quick Yu-Gi-Oh things that I can speed through here because there's not really as much to say about them. We got a few new archetype reveals and supports and stuff for this latest set, Doom of Dimensions. The main one I was going to just briefly talk about is MST gets an archetype now. The Mystical Space Typhoon archetype called...
I was so confused when I saw this.
Yeah, it's called Magnificestorming, which we know that's going to be changed. I think when it gets localized.
Oh, well, let's play a game.
Okay.
Let's try and guess what the localized name will be. Because I've seen the artwork.
Yeah, it's for some context, especially if you're an audio listener. It's a set of like wind monsters basically that are mostly level 3 or level 6, and then they also have quick play spells and a single trap card. And the general gist of it is like they can search for MST or they want MST to be in your graveyard and that sort of thing. I'm not going to get into the effects because you can really just read that yourself. But I think that just the concept of developing an archetype around an old staple seems really fun and novel. Mm-hmm. But I'm more interested in what they'll be called. What do you think?
Okay, I'm going to go with... I think they're gonna want to keep the MST acronym in the name.
Oh, so you think that they'll go for like these will be called like MST and then like their name or something?
No,
what are you thinking?
think they'll be called something on the lines of Magical Spatial Teachers or Magical Space Teachers.
Let's see. Magnificestorming is what they've sure translated to. So maybe
Majestic?
Like I think maybe like the mystical, something with mystical, I guess.
Like
Mystispatians. Like I think like Neospatians. I don't know.
Mystispatians.
That sounds awful actually. I don't know. What do you if you're listening, what do you think they would like localize?
I wonder if maybe that name is something goofy. I can't think of what.
Well, I think they reserve the goofy names for like when it's like one card. Actually, no, never mind. They did for hire.
We've had some goofy archetype names.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Magnificestorming. What's interesting is I thought this was going to be like a goofier archetype, but like the monsters the artwork
it's like regular archetype artwork. And honestly, I was hoping they'd look a little sillier. Yeah. Instead, it's like the artist took it seriously, so I respect it. It's just I wanted to have a laugh because this is our first time that's getting an archetype that's based around a retro card, just a card turned into and it's not a monster, right? It's a spell. I wonder what other spell or traps they could turn into an archetype.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah. So
Trap Hole, in a sense, became an archetype.
Yeah, they basically made a Trap Hole archetype in Trap Tricks.
Yeah.
They have made one-off cards like the Dark Hole Dragon that came out a few sets ago.
Oh, that's true. We do have a Dark Hole retrained Searchy Dragon.
And they have been like kind of just doing these cards that revisit old random staple spells, like the Remove Brainwashing Woman is now in that new card, Release Brainwashing.
That's true.
And it kind of just concludes her story seemingly with she's having a good life now. Her brainwashing's over. She's
living good. I'm so happy for her.
So if we're talking staples, I think it would be interesting to see. Oh, and then Mirror Force got Mirror Force Launcher.
Yeah, and then
so that's like kind of something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, what if we did a Swords Revealing Light archetype?
I thought that maybe they had done that at some point.
It could be an archetype of like swordsmen that have light swords.
Yeah, and probably their effects prevent your opponent from attacking.
Yeah, they can they freeze like a monster from attacking for a turn.
Maybe they could do something with Raigeki. That feels like one of the more iconic ones.
Oh, that's too easy.
Like Lightning Storm Raigeki.
Not easy, it's lazy.
It's kind of boring.
It's like Raigeki, we get it.
Or maybe they'll actually finally just make the Pot of Greed like archetype. Because they already have little things like Avatar of the Pot, Spirit of the Pot, like those Jar Robber. So maybe you actually just make an archetype that's just people with like pot faces or whatever.
I just don't know what the
and you call them the potheads
because the potheads. Like it could be interesting, an archetype that has its own like in theme Pot of Greed that you somehow turn it into some type of an engine. To do what? I have no
Draw
clue.
Cards? But they'll have to balance that pretty
Yeah, because I'll just put the Exodia pieces in my deck and call it a day.
We can move on to another card game that's also been getting a fair bit of buzz lately. Some of it positive, some negative.
What game is that?
That might be Magic the Gathering.
Oh, yeah.
Although some people kind of feel like they don't know if it's actually Magic the Gathering anymore. But
Oh,
Final
yeah.
Fantasy crossover debuts as the highest selling Magic the Gathering product ever. So,
Wow.
did you guys know this released last weekend? Or at least that was like kind of the sneak peek or something like that.
I got so confused because I've been playing with those cards for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so its collaboration with the beloved video game series Final Fantasy has busted records. Hasbro CEO Chris Cox told investors it's become the best-selling Magic set of all time, and that's based on pre-orders alone.
Woo!
So,
That's actually insane when you think about it. On pre-orders by itself, it's already outsold every product they've ever made.
well, I think maybe what he's saying is by pre-orders, it has out pre-ordered other pre-orders.
Oh, okay.
That would be
Compared
my
to other
assumption.
pre-orders.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. That makes more sense.
I don't know any metric by which it has not been a success, said Charles Bobinger, a DC-based lawyer who's a big fan of both properties. He says, it's drawing in Final Fantasy people. The Magic people I know who do not play Final Fantasy have at least been curious about Final Fantasy lore. And then finally, the overwhelmingly positive reception has blown us away, said senior game designer Daniel Holt. I've seen just how much players appreciate the little details of the series. So,
Well, I can say as someone who has participated in the Magic Gathering Final Fantasy Universe and Beyond set for the last 2 weeks, I can tell you I've been actually quite satisfied so far with the set. Though I feel like I've only barely scratched the surface of all the cards and interactions in the set. 'Cause I only
so
have
what have
one.
you been doing? Like, tell me, what have you played with, bought,
So
collected at all?
I have one of the Final Fantasy 14 Commander Precon. So that's how I primarily have been playing. Though I did get some cards from the booster set to like switch some cards out, change it up, just because I felt like the deck wasn't perfect out the box. Definitely fun out the box, just not perfect out the box. And my deck build it still isn't perfect. So, but I played in a few different commander pods. Most of us running Final Fantasy decks, so I've seen a lot of different Final Fantasy cards. And my God,
What precon are you using?
Final Fantasy 14. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know if you'd mentioned.
There's only the one for 14, and it's the commander is Ishtola Knights Blessed. Though you can also use Grahatia. I forget what his little title
the
is.
subtitle, but it's fine.
But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with those cards and playing against other Final Fantasy themes. I've played against a equipment based Cloud Strife deck. I've played against a Noctis deck, though I think it was actually a different commander, but they put Noctis art on him so that you could claim it's still a Final Fantasy deck. But then the guy was essentially running as many like legendary Final Fantasy characters as he possibly could in the deck, and it didn't work well, but it sure was cool.
Yeah, getting to make like a lore deck is always kind of fun.
I haven't had a chance to play any like standard with the Final Fantasy cards. I know that was a big thing Magic was pushing, but when they were doing standard tournaments, I was playing Digimon, and so I never really got the chance to try that out. But as far as on the commander side of things, I found it to be a lot of fun. The set is huge.
Yeah, I know those Magic sets are large. Is it even like larger than normal?
It feels larger than normal. I'm overwhelmed at the sheer amount of cards that's in this set, and on one hand I'm fanning out because of how I've played so many different Final Fantasy games, and I mean they all get representation in some way or another in this set. And then I'm reading their effects, and I'm thinking, oh, how can I use this? How can I use that? I can build this. I can build that. It's been a lot. I can certainly see why it was so heavily pre-ordered. I don't care for the prices.
Yeah, so they actually kind of talk about this in the article, and we've of course talked about it a lot in the past, but exciting as the set might be, it doesn't come cheap. Licensing fees already pushed its booster pack MSRP from the recently elevated $549 to $699, and some of the set's most coveted cards are pre-selling for hundreds of dollars. So this person, Bobinger, says, I personally chose to redirect a lot of other spending I would have done towards this set because the set is so meaningful to me. I would like to get a complete set of this one, excluding the most expensive art treatments, and I'm willing to spend more for that goal. The public seems to feel the same way, as high demand has ballooned prices across retailers. So what's sort of been your experience with that, if at all?
Getting my hands on, like, I was fortunate to get my hands on a Commander deck. Pretty much the day after I got mine, they were gone.
Yeah.
The demand was high, and the market rate on those Commander decks,
It's obscene from what I've
it's not fun.
observed.
It's not fun. I don't like spending like well over $100 for like a deck of cards. That,
Do you know what's interesting about this that kind of confuses me a little?
what's that?
Or maybe it's not that confusing. It might be just really simple. I'm just a dumbass. But probably the latter. I thought that like the Lord of the Rings sort of universes beyond would have been bigger. Like, you know, the whole One Ring thing going on, that was getting a lot of press attention. It feels like, though, this, and like, you know, Black Aragorn, there was like controversy there. But like, this just seems like it is just, generally speaking, just bigger and more hyped. I think it does almost get the vibe. Sorry, I was interrupting. I'll finish this last thought.
Okay.
I almost get the vibe. It's like more, like a bigger deal than the Marvel collab. Now, I know that's technically coming later, so maybe that will be just as big, if not larger. But it's like, what is it about like this Final Fantasy Magic thing that's got people just acting up? Like, what's going on?
I think it helps that, you know, at least compared to Lord of the Rings, Final Fantasy has a larger internet footprint. At least in the modern internet.
Right.
Lord of the Rings has largely fallen off in popularity. You know, all us old people, we love it. And then the young people, what do they have? Rings of Power? Like, that's as much Lord of the Rings as they really get. While Final Fantasy has remained at least in the zeitgeist for years, even if they fail to make games in a timely manner, though they did a little bit better in the last few cycles. But, you know,
yeah, I get
they're still more relevant than Lord of the Rings are. I think with Spider-Man on the horizon, I think we might see this happen all over again. Because if there is if there's a franchise bigger than Lord of the Rings right now, well, it's Spider-Man. It's
eternally just huge.
It's
number one
Spider-Man
superhero.
is the most popular superhero in the world. It's a top 5 franchise in the world.
You know what's interesting though?
What's that?
And like, this is just kind of a vibes-based observation. I actually don't think that the Spider-Man set specifically will be as popular as this Final Fantasy one is. I think that the Marvel set will be, but I sometimes feel like, is there like enough Spider-Man material that people are just clamoring for? No, I know to be clear, I know there's a lot of Spider-Man material. I know that a lot of people like Spider-Man. But like, I feel like I don't hear as much about like his, like the side characters and the villains. So like, comparatively, whereas like with Marvel in general, like, you know, there's plenty of Marvel characters and you can have your favorites. But with Spider-Man, I feel like you just you like Spider-Man, maybe you like Venom and like one other character from it, but like it just doesn't seem like it's as...
I think it's one of those things where we're just going to have to...
We'll just
see, and we'll find out just how big it is. My prediction is that it'll be bigger, but I also didn't expect Final Fantasy to be at least seem so much bigger than the Lord of the Rings launch. But you know, I actually participated in the Secret Layer launch for Final Fantasy.
Well, serendipitous that you mention it, because here's a headline I have. Empty-handed and disappointed. So dark. Surprising nobody, Magic the Gathering's Final Fantasy Secret Layers sold out in 2 hours. So tell me about your Magic the Gathering Secret Layers experience.
All right, so that headline's a bit sensationalist. Yes, everything sold out, but it did not sell out in 2 hours. Some things sold out in 2 hours. All right, so I'll set the scene, right? I'm at work. Chris puts in the group chat, Secret Layer just dropped. So I immediately run to the Secret Layer website. I'm already logged in because I've been there before many times. I did this recently for the Marvel Secret Layer, which I was successful at. And I didn't think my experience with the Marvel Secret Layer would be so relevant to how this one was gonna go too.
Yeah, just for clarity, so the way the Secret Layers work now, as opposed to how they perhaps used to, is that they used to be like, what's the term for it?
It was print to order.
Yeah, print to order. Whereas now it's like there's just a certain amount of them. You get in there.
Limited time drop.
Yeah, limited time drop. You get in the queue. you just kind of are like forced to sort of wait until your turn, like you get in, and then like you're able to check out, and then that's it, right? Like
yeah, and that's how it works
okay.
for most secret layers. But for the hype ones, like the last two I've been a part of, you have to really suffer because it was around noon 30-ish, like 12:30-ish, when I hopped in line for that secret layer. I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted from it. It had the Grimoire set, which was a set of spells, or they're all spells and magic, but it was a set of like sorceries and incense and stuff based on spells from Final Fantasy. There was the weapons pack, which was equipment and artifacts based off of weapons from Final Fantasy. And then there was the Game Over pack, which was a bunch of villains about to wreck shop. And then they had these giant ones that had everything all bundled into them together. I didn't know what I wanted, but I figured I'll get in line, and if and when I get in, I'll just decide depending on what's left.
I know you said something about it like paused midway through.
Yeah, so about 3 hours in, yes, I was in line for 3 hours. The line paused. And now most people panic when they see the line pause. Well, I went through the Marvel secret layer, and that line paused twice. So I was a little familiar with the pausing situation. So I just kind of I just chilled with it. About an hour and a half passed before the line unpaused. So now we're in like hour 4 and then some. And my ETA still said you have more than an hour left.
Right.
So it's like, 4 hours in, I still have another hour at least to wait. I did not get through the line until like 5:30. So about 5 hours had passed before I was actually able to buy a product, and it was all gone. Not everything, because for some reason this secret layer had both an English version and a Japanese version. Well, every single English version product was sold out. That was the biggest packages to the smallest packages, the foils and the non-foils. It was all gone. People had eaten up every last bit of it, and all that was left was the Japanese versions.
Right.
And I seriously question why they had the Japanese language cards there, because my understanding was this was like they only had a US store, a UK store, and an EU store.
I guess just the option's not bad.
I guess it's not bad to have. It's just I would have rather you have more English cards.
So did you end up empty-handed and disappointed?
No, I just bought a Japanese pack. I was like, I did it. Like the
Might
cards still work the same, have the same artwork. That isn't Japanese, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Final Fantasy is a Japanese franchise. Like you can call it the original.
According to this article, they said it took 2 hours and 20 minutes before all 3 secret layer drops had sold out. So it sounds like maybe different people were just getting different experiences with this.
It does. I think so, because I was following a Reddit thread where people were kind of live posting about their experiences. The way people were talking about this drop, it sounded like they were having a different experience from me, but maybe they were in the EU or the UK stores, and maybe it was different then. But for me, I didn't know what I couldn't get until they finally let me through line. They're like, all right, here you go. Only Japanese.
Some people are saying that they were left, empty-handed and disappointed. It seems like being early wasn't enough for some people, as one Twitter user called Foolhardy MTG claims they couldn't get anything despite proceeding to check out within 20 seconds of the sale starting. That might have just been like a site error type of situation.
No, that sounds about right, because
loads of people are reporting. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying with these secret layer drops, a lot of people, they're botting, they have multiple devices, or they have a group of friends, and they're all trying to get in frame one. Within 20 seconds, you can be thousands of people back in line.
Right. Yeah. This person said that proceeding to check out within 20 seconds, they still weren't able to get anything. Loads of people are reporting that they had to wait in line only for everything to sell out before the bar had even reached 50%. Just like with the Marvel Secret Lair drop last year, fans are now calling for Wizards of the Coast to bring back print to demand. Nobody likes the process of buying Secret Lairs anymore, even if you are one of the lucky ones that can grab something.
It is a pain.
And almost every Secret Lair that has been available in limited quantities has been a disaster for customers. Now, here's something a little interesting. Head designer Mark Rosewater claimed that he was, quote, passing along complaints about the way Secret Lairs are sold these days. That's following the also disastrous Monty Python Secret Lair drop. I remember we briefly covered that. But it seems pretty clear that either he was fibbing or Wizards of the Coast simply does not care. It's a shame, but Secret Lairs are now only for the diehards and the scalpers. That's according to this article, not my words.
In general, it is cheaper for a company to do a limited drop than it is to do print to order.
Right.
Because they can just set what their expenses are going to be at the outset, and they know it's all going to sell out. So
yeah.
It's easy to work with, but it's a horrible pain. And yes, I know because of the drop thing, they can start setting the cards out immediately after this ends. Like my cards will be here by next week, which is nice, but
the experience of buying suffers so much. Something that I was gonna say too is like, I guess we used to get in this old Magic bag every once a month or so. It does make it seem like just the experience of trying to get Magic cards is slowly creeping towards like what Pokemon deals with. And it's crazy because like what we're describing now, it's kind of a foreign concept in general for like Magic and especially like Yu-Gi-Oh, where you're just not really used to having to like do this weird fight for cards like online for someone dropping whatever. But like with Pokemon, nearly every set's like this. Like just where you are, just people lining up outside of like GameStops, Costco's, Targets, fights, videos, whatever.
You can only hope they're having a barbecue and not fighting.
So it just does make you wonder, like, is this, because in Hasbro's eyes, this is kind of all a success, right?
Yeah.
Everything's selling out.
That's perfect.
Pre-orders are huge, and it's getting a lot of media buzz and press. But, man, like, where does that leave just the average Magic player who just wanted to, like, pick it up like a normal person? It seems like it's hard.
If you're truly normal, things aren't so bad because it's only really bad when you want exclusive, like, alternative arts of cards.
I suppose so.
If you just want base rarity stuff, because even base rarity mythics aren't that bad. They're in the set, and their prices are high right now, but I imagine they'll drop more once the pre-sale ends. But, like, you can get your hands on singles. Like, that's not so bad. But when it comes to sealed product, especially like collector's boosters, commander decks.
Yeah, tricky.
You gotta fight
it's just a bit like, commander decks. Like, that's like a pre-con. It's supposed to kind of be this accessible thing. So
accessible?
Maybe not.
I don't know if Wizards agrees. But maybe they do agree, and maybe that's why they made the collector commander pre-cons, because they want to keep the other ones accessible, right?
And it's all working out. Well, for anybody who's listening, I do want to hear if you were interested in, the Final Fantasy Magic collab, what was your buying experience like? Has it been negative? Has it been positive? I, for one, have not bought a damn thing, and I've just decided that I'm going to wait for all of this to blow over, and then eventually just selectively purchase or trade for or whatever, like the handful of characters I want. I'm not building a deck. I decided I'm just not going to bother building a deck. I don't play enough Magic for it to be worth my time.
Fair.
And I'm just going to get like probably a dozen cards, like a Lightning and Clive, whatever.
There is that Lightning mythic.
And just like I'll frame them up and kind of just have a little.
You can get the Surge foil for $100 right now. That
will not be me. I will wait.
So you really don't like Final Fantasy 13. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, that's right.
Because you're not a real fan. If you was a real fan.
Riftbound, which is the League of Legends card game.
I always forget that's the name, though.
Yeah, so it's officially in what they're calling preview season. The actual game doesn't release until October, but they say that they're just now in, I guess, what they're calling preview season. This is a time to get excited about card combinations and deck possibilities. If you're a new fan or just curious about TCGs, it's a great time to catch some content drops, learn a little about the game, and discover what parts of Riftbound you find the most exciting. Mm-hmm. So starting on June 9th and going all the way through July 18th, they're going to be releasing game rules, card art, and details about the mechanics that make this game sing. And you'll be able to find them from different press and influencer partners. One of which was actually a fellow YouTuber, Simo. I saw revealed a card earlier today when we were recording this. But yeah, the Riftbound Origins card gallery is going to be the home base for every new card revealed. So it's like a website where you can actually go and just see all the cards that have been revealed so far. English cards will be added every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh, that's nice. Nice and like trackable.
Yeah, until each and every one of the 377 individual cards available in the first set are revealed. That's a large-ass set, 377 cards?
I guess they got to satisfy people out the gate.
Yeah, and of course, Chinese language cards will be revealed earlier the same day to accommodate our friends around the globe. But have no fear, we'll take care of the translation for you. And our partners are stepping up to show off new cards, but also they're going to be showing you how to play them. So I guess some people will be making maybe videos that explain mechanics or show cards in action. And yeah, you'll just see different unit cards, spell cards, gears, legends, battlefields, and champions. And they're also going to have cards not just organized by type, but also by rarity, from common all the way to epic, and overnumbered, which is, I guess, a different rarity of theirs. So there's a total of 298 cards in the set, and then I guess it gets up to 377 because of like the alt arts and higher rarity.
Which
things.
makes sense. I'm actually looking at the card gallery right now. It's a very smooth experience, and they've shown off quite a few cards at this point. Mm-hmm. And they've already, of course, shown off in like very popular characters like Jinx, Ari, Vi. Those are the only characters I know offhand.
Yeah, I don't know too much about League of Legends. There's the one guy who looks like Hanzo from Overwatch, but that's
Yasuo.
Okay, yeah, it's obviously like not his name, but I always think like, oh, that's like Hanzo.
Oh, so there's Misfortune. I've seen that one before.
This will be interesting. I saw that like some of the news outlets are like IGN and GameSpot and GamesRadar, but then there's obviously people like Simo and just a few other names I recognize. I saw Sakuno on here. So, cool. If you are interested in the upcoming Riftbound game, then they're kind of letting you know where to follow, what to expect. I think this is kind of
They're
nice.
not getting you ready for what to expect. I know what you got to expect. Listen to me, okay? This is going to be a scalping mess.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
It seems to me like they're kind of making it more of like a player's game than like a scalpy game, but I guess that's not up to them to necessarily even decide, is it? It is not up to them.
The TCG entrepreneurs, they're like vultures. They move on to the next freshest carcass, and that's going to be Riftbound.
That's true, because it'll be, I guess this summer, it's like Magic first, then some Gundam scalping, and then October will roll around and you scalp your Riftbound.
When pre-orders go live, and look, I typically don't recommend pre-ordering things because of how bad it goes in the video game industry. But in this case, when pre-orders go live for this game and you're interested, just go ahead and pre-order it. You do not want to find out what this is going to be like when it actually launches.
Second quick thing is that, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's all I'd say.
Second quick thing about Riftbound is they have announced how the organized play system is going to work.
Okay.
So UVS Games and Riot Games have partnered together to create and run great competitions at all levels of play. Got a ton of fun things in the works. They're not ready to talk about everything yet, but they're going to be going over the organized play program as a whole in this little article that I found. It's like a press release.
Okay.
So there are sort of 4-ish levels of organized play. Starting with each set after Origins, stores will run a special pre-release event before the official launch of the set. This is your sneak peek. Players will get the opportunity to play with the new cards before they've officially come out. They're creating special pre-release kits featuring packs with the new set so you can build and play with your friends ahead of the official release. After the Origins release, stores will run Nexus Nights, which is a weekly Riftbound event designed to be fun and rewarding for those returning to the store week over week.
Oh, it's a league.
A league system on the store's chosen night of the week.
You could say it's a League of Legends.
I see what you did there. This event is for casual competitors. Nexus Nights with Origins will have players use their own constructed decks, and it's a more casual event that does not link into any higher levels of the competitive structure.
Smart.
So it's all about stores picking the night of the week that works best for their players. That changes, though, with the next level of play, which is Summoner Skirmish, the highest level of competition that players could find at their local stores. There's 2 Summoner Skirmishes per set, one at the start and one at the end of the season. That's kind of interesting.
Start of the season is rough because, I mean, I don't know when they're planning it as given how to like card releases. But if it's like a week after the set releases, my God.
I mean, I like the idea of that kind of a little
Scramble and get it together.
Yeah, like it's a little bit of a sloppy, messy meta, but then like by the last event of the season, it's probably
Everybody
a much more
should
refined
be ready to go.
thing. So here's what they say about it. Participating and winning at this event gives promos and other cool prizes, including a round 1 bye for the champion at their next regional qualifier.
Oh, we're doing it like that?
Also, they say that the promos, as with all promos for organized play, will not be mechanically unique. They'll just be different versions of cards in the set that commemorate that competition.
Oh, they're avoiding the Bandai problem.
So, next we get into the premier level of competition that starts with regional qualifiers. Regional qualifiers take the tournament experience from the stores and bring it to events with hundreds, if not thousands, of players. So these are open events where any competitive grinder can attend, and they will be held in a variety of locations across the globe. Participating and winning award promos and even more cool stuff. And like we saw with the Summoner Skirmish, you can get a round 1 bye by winning at your local,
which is hilarious.
And the highest placing competitors receive an invitation to a regional championship, with the number of invites scaling up on attendance at the qualifier. So that's your Nats invite equivalent to Yu-Gi-Oh!
I get it.
The penultimate level of competition in Riftbound is the regional championship. So that's invite only for the highest skilled players. Players who win qualifiers can choose which regional championship they want to attend. So you don't necessarily have to like go to the one. And there's a final shot on site at each one for players that get a last chance qualifier, basically. Participants and winners win even better promos and even more cash prizes.
Cash, y'all. We're talking dollar bills or Bitcoin. I don't know if we're going to really deal in cash like that at this
Starting as early as 2027, the highest placing competitors win an invitation to the final level of competition, the Riftbound World Championship. So it seems like basically 2026 will not have a world championship because that's going to be when most of this stuff is getting off the ground.
Right.
And starting in 2027, they'll have their world championship.
I mean, they're going to have professional players pretty much out of the gate.
And one final interesting thing. We want players to feel rewarded for their skill and experience progression when taking part in the Riftbound tournament structure. We believe an engaging and balanced metagame is key for that to happen. One of the ways we will be working to achieve that goal is fill in the blank. What do you think they're going to be doing with this game? What kind of a system will be in place to achieve the goal of engaging and balanced metagame?
Rotation.
We will be curating the constructed environment through regularly and predictably rotating sets, by regularly and predictably rotating sets out of current legality and into an eternal format. This process will begin no earlier than 2028, but we know it can be a sensitive topic for players, so we want to be transparent about it with more details to come.
Boy, it's like they've watched every card game operate, and they're like, I'm avoiding this minefield, we're avoiding this minefield, we're going to be transparent about this, and we're just going to work our way through all the errors other companies have made.
Yeah, and I got to say...
So they can invent some new ones.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They'll have their own fair share. But it is nice to see so many card games. I'm reminded of the Gundam card game as well, just releasing with the 4-player mode and the 2v2 mode. It's and there's even I saw the Gundam card game's got its digital learning sim app that's coming out in a couple days or something. These games are hitting the ground running. It's feel like everyone they've got. I like this. They've got their local scene planned. It's got a name. It's got a timing. Everybody wants
that Yu-Gi-Oh crown.
Yeah, people want that Yu-Gi-Oh. People want to snatch some Magic, right? People want a little bit of everything.
Magic said, "Nah, Final Fantasy Standard Eagle. So we're still here."
Yeah, so I thought that's kind of cool. I don't know enough about League to be particularly interested in this, but
I'll be in.
I mean, I'll give it a shot. I know about a few League characters. I watched some Arcane. I did remember playing League way back in the day.
I've never played League and never will. I've lost too many friends.
2010 maybe, so kind of cool. What do you think? Are you when you hear this, how are you feeling about it?
I mean, it sounds good to me. This all is predicated on this actually being a good and fun game to play. I think a lot of us, we just assume these games will be, but just because it has great marketing and good attention to detail and lots of transparency, doesn't mean the game's actually going to be all that much fun.
Yeah, a game that I know this kind of reminds me of vaguely is Lorcana, which I'm not saying Lorcana is like good or bad or whatever, but just like I remember it got a lot of hype leading up to it, but I feel like I've heard a little bit less about it in like just the last year-ish.
I found Lorcana boring. I'll be honest. I did not enjoy. Like, it's fine. It just
my limited time playing it was
anything else.
When I played it, it was positive. Like I liked it. I just, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh purist, so that's kind of where I'm. But that our experience is not by any means everyone's experience.
Yeah, it's not everyone's experience. So. Like, you're not me, I'm not you. I mean, you're me, but I'm not you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's still more TCG news this week.
There's a lot.
This is going to be like a TCG newscast for the most part. So here's a little update on the TCGPlayer union situation.
Oh, yeah, that did happen.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. So
boycotting strong.
Just as a bit of a catch up, TCGPlayer was kind of, or eBay, the owners of TCGPlayer now, we went a little bit of union busting, trying to move their authentication warehouse to a different state. And I think it was they were trying to move to Kentucky. And it was going to put a lot of people out of jobs. So what the TCGPlayer union and the company's settlement ended up being is, here I'll read. The union representing TCGPlayer employees and the company have agreed on a closing agreement for the company's Syracuse location. So the location itself is still closing.
Yeah, they will lose their jobs.
But the agreement covers employees affected by eBay's plan to shut down the location and relocate. Employees will receive 10 weeks of severance pay at $2.50 per hour above current wages, 6 months of COBRA medical coverage paid by the company.
What is COBRA? That sounds scary.
Yeah, it's like it's like an acronym. I don't know what it stands for though.
I don't want that type of medical coverage, whatever that is.
7 months of continued mental health benefits. Interesting. So I guess they'll pay for your therapy.
Oh, okay.
Counseling maybe. Maybe even medications involving that. And a $1,250 ratification bonus for employees in the bargaining unit. Interesting. So, the union, which is a union of the Communication Workers of America, thanked the TCG community for its support during the negotiations and foreshadowed a possible future effort at the company's new location. So they're like, listen, eBay, even though you're closing this place and firing all these people, we're still going to be on your ass when you're at the new spot. Yeah, so watch your back.
I promise you, TCGPlayer is going to start doing their interviews like, do you know what a union is? Yes, bye.
Yeah, they might not hire you. We're so grateful for the support. We wouldn't have made it this far without you all. From Syracuse to Louisville, workers everywhere deserve rights, respect, and dignity on the job. And I do agree.
I do agree with that. Well, okay, not all workers.
What does that mean? Who doesn't?
So I had an Uber driver once, and
yeah, that's right. So this is good news. I think this is a nice update. I saw somebody commenting. They were like, are we still boycotting TCGPlayer? Like they were just asking, I guess, the room, like just on this Reddit thread or whatever.
I hate this. I hate the phrase, are we boycotting? Mm-hmm. It's, are you boycotting?
That was where my head sort of went. I think that if you find what they did to be reprehensible, you found the working conditions, the way they handled the situation to be something that does not agree with your morality and ethics, I think you should make the decision to boycott the company. I think that if you find this to be a suitable settlement, and you think that by and large, we'll say the danger has passed, then you can continue to buy from TCGPlayer. I don't like, and this happens with like all internet things, is when people are just like, are we boycotting or not? Like, I don't really tell me what to do. It's like,
I'm a follower. I just need to know where to go.
Yeah. Like, make your decision based on what you feel about what's being done. So
every movement is 80% just a bunch of followers who just need to be told to go. People just need us like YouTubers to tell them, it's okay, stand down.
Yeah. And if anybody's like kind of watched any of like this content that we've made for a long enough time, you'll know I am not here to tell you what to do with your money.
I will.
Alec will do that. Yeah. but I'm not here to tell you who to buy from or whatever. Boycott if you think that the boycotts need to happen, and don't if you don't. So
I'll let you guys know how I'm getting down. I haven't spent a cent on TCGPlayer since this boycott began, and I don't plan on spending a cent on TCGPlayer for the foreseeable future. That's my stance on it. It's because I don't have any extra money right now. I found it's actually really easy to boycott when you're broke. Like
true.
I've actually been boycotting like Target for years now. I didn't realize it. In fact, I'm boycotting a lot of things because I just stand for so much. You know what they say: if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
You're not boycotting those Magic secret layers, though, I guess. Not boycotting that business decision, huh? Well, anyway, GameStop collectible sales soar is our next story.
Yeah, that.
Even as overall sales plummet. So I remember
Yikes.
seeing like a quote from their CEO a couple of weeks ago where he was saying, GameStop has been doubling down on the sale of collectibles, which is to say, trading cards and similar stuff. So here's what they have to say. This is from ICV2. GameStop sales in its collectibles category, which includes TCGs and other tabletop games, soared, even as overall sales plummeted in its most recent quarter that ended May 3rd, 2025. Collectibles sales were up 55% to $211.5 million from $136.8 million in the year ago period. Overall sales were down 17%, which is behind a 30% drop in video games, hardware, and accessories. GameStop's success in growing sales in the collectibles category began in 2024 when it began buying slabbed Pokemon TCG cards in its stores and selling them online. What do we think?
I mean, all they're saying essentially is, guys, we got the bare minimum to happen. We invested more heavily in collectibles, and then we sold more collectibles. I mean, technically, they could have still seen less sales in collectibles, but it's not like they didn't invest more in the collectibles market and focus less on their other segments.
Yeah. Do you think that kind of the pivot to collectibles is like a good decision overall? Like,
it's hard to say good anything when it comes to GameStop. I think it's more so this is the course of action they've chosen
that will keep them currently alive.
Right now it's what's helping them tread water. I don't know if this is the answer because, like we said in the article, they're still down 17% in sales. Unless total sales goes up, and you can, maybe you can attribute that to collectibles or not. I mean, GameStop's still in rough shape. They need more than just some graded slabs to, kick it up a notch.
I have seen is that GameStop is some of them are having like local scenes for these card games, like. One of our local GameStops here, they've got like Pokemon weeklies and other card game things, which those don't like bring in loads of money, but they do.
As many card shop owners will tell you.
But they do keep a steady set of like cheeks and seats, so to speak, and so that's like foot traffic. The guy that was working with me on like getting my cards graded from GameStop, which those graded PSA cards did come in, and I was happy with some of my grades. I made a video about it. You can check it out. But
only some.
He was saying that like a lot of kids and families do show up for Pokemon, and they typically will buy packs and stuff when they come in and play in the tournaments. So that's clearly working. I've always kind of found GameStop is sometimes can look a little messy in the inside. Like it can just be there's just so much like I don't want to use the word junk, but like there's just so many things.
GameStop has yard sale energy.
Yeah, it kind of gives me like flea market vibes.
It's like they put a lot of stuff out in front of you, hoping one of these like hundreds of things catches your eye. Please.
I will say this in GameStop's defense, though, and this is something that like I think people just have a misunderstanding of like what GameStop's biggest struggles are. Everybody seems to claim that like when they see a GameStop sales and stuff are dropping and this and that it's because they were doing the whole like best we can do is $2 for your used game you're trading in, right?
No, they don't even do that anymore.
That's the joke. But the truth is GameStop's suffering with video game sales just because literally like physical games sales are like down, and companies
they're down for everybody.
And companies do not want to change that. More and more companies would much rather you buy from the PlayStation Store or get their subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate or whatever, or get in the eShop. They do not want you buying physical games because for them, two things. First of all, you buy a little physical game, you can lend it to your friend, and that means your friend didn't have to buy it, and that's a problem. And they can't control that transaction. And the second thing is, a game that costs $70 digital means it skips out on the roughly like $12 to $13 of per unit cost that it takes to like literally package it and physically give it to you because they can just circumvent that with a digital game.
Because the fact of the matter is the gaming industry had a very drastic change in the last like 20 years. Gaming companies went from creating video games to becoming their own marketplaces. It's likely a lot of these companies, Sony, Microsoft, they probably saw GameStop as a bit of a leech because GameStop had inserted itself right in the middle of like their relationship with their customers. As they grew, GameStop grew. And GameStop likely had influence in the gaming industry that it's likely that Sony and Microsoft did not appreciate. Oh, Nintendo too, of course.
Yeah, because the thing is, Walmart and Target were not letting you trade your games in.
Nope.
So, the gaming companies are happy to like sell games that way. But like GameStop's sitting here like, yeah, like we're kind of, because you could always have done that at like a pawn shop, but those are so small and niche and like just area specific. But GameStop was like this chain store that just said like we buy and sell used games, and that's money that those publishers won't see. So they had to kind of get rid of that.
Let's say you're the maker of the Ratchet and Clank series, and the last game,
Naughty Dog,
maybe it's not doing so hot.
Yeah, Insomniac.
It's not doing so hot, and GameStop's like, okay, we're gonna sell copies of this game at $15.99. And you see that, and it's like, hey, they stop them. Stop. Why are they reducing the price of this game? We need all the money. It's like, well, oh no, it's our own little marketplace here at GameStop. We sell games and we buy games and we sell them again.
What's interesting?
We can price set your games.
Yeah, that price setting is actually something that I hadn't fully considered. Is like that changed the perception of value of a game. Because if you think about it, like a first party company or like a publisher always wants their games MSRP to just be $69.99 or whatever the current kind of gaming MSRP is, soon to be I guess $79.99. But if GameStop, which a lot of kids and their families maybe go to and buy from, is selling your used game for like, it used to be $49.99 used, now it's something like $39.99 used. It's like, is that sort of implying that like it's old and maybe bad and not like worth it? And so like it could change. I could see where that could like change even just the perception. Like
perception, and you're not even getting a cut of that.
Yeah, you're not getting any of it.
So I imagine the gaming industry has been wanting to muscle GameStop out for a long time, and it's finally bearing fruit. That's what they
bearing food. Yum.
Bearing fruit.
You remember that one GameStop story where they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna like turn these GameStops into like." Kind of like little party center type place. Like,
oh, I remember there was the LAN center thing.
Then
there was like the coffee shop type situation.
I just remember when you said food, I thought about like how that just seems. I just wouldn't want like food to be in a place where you're supposed to be like renting out a space to play games. Because like I just imagine a kid with a Cheeto dust on their fingers just grabbing the controllers.
But you can't really. It's hard to find a better pair with gaming than snacks. The problem is snacks are not good for gaming hardware. Yeah, and you can't really fix that. Gamers need to feed, and I guess all you can do is just keep cleaning your hardware.
Yeah, hope it doesn't get ruined. All right, that brings us to the end of this very card game heavy, collectibles heavy podcast. There are a couple of other gaming topics though that I at least wanted to cover. The Switch 2's out. So I want to know, first of all, if any listeners bought it. Maybe a 1 in the chat if you bought it, 2 in the chat if you didn't, whatever.
3 if you plan to buy it, and 4 if you plan to steal one.
Stop that.
What?
Okay. So
that's a legitimate. Okay, it's not legitimate, but it is an option.
Here's the headline: Nintendo's Switch 2 is the fastest selling game console of all time.
Game console
of all
time, not
Nintendo
game console.
Game console of all time.
All consoles.
Nintendo was expecting the Switch 2 would be just as successful as the original, and it's already become the fastest selling game console of all time after a strong launch. Nintendo revealed today that it has sold more than 3.5 million Switch 2 units in the console's first 4 days, surpassing records for any of Nintendo's hardware within the same launch period.
Wow.
But the record is more significant than that, because Daniel Ahmad, Director of Research and Insights at Nico Partners, points out that the Switch 2 is the fastest selling home video game console of all time. It took Sony 16 days to reach 2.1 million PS4 consoles and 6 weeks to reach 4.2 million units. The Switch 2 has also comfortably beaten the PS5 launch, which debuted during the pandemic and associated chip supply constraints. It took 7 weeks for Sony to sell through 4.4 million PS5 units. So yeah, it seems like that's Nintendo does it again, you know?
I mean, that's the Nintendo effect. People gotta have it. Though I will say I'm a little upset with you guys.
You're mad at them.
Yeah, because you guys told me that the Switch 2 was too expensive and you weren't gonna buy it. You guys told me that this was too harsh on your pocketbooks.
You lied.
Like
You've tricked Alec.
You outsold every other console that's ever existed. You know what happened to inflation? What happened to the economy?
This is one of those like fun little reminders. Oh, by the way, I should probably say I didn't get a Switch 2.
I didn't get one either. I trusted you guys. Yeah. I thought y'all was broke like me.
Well, no, remember, Alec, you're currently boycotting Nintendo.
Oh, you're right. I'm boycotting
Nintendo. Yeah. I guess I'll get into my little like anecdote about that here in a second. But I'm reminded, as usual, of how like the internet will sometimes sort of misconstrue a situation. I remember when the Switch 2 the Switch 2 got revealed. It was expensive. People were like, this is way too expensive. Mario Kart's $80. Nintendo's like, they've lost their way.
I bet all y'all got Mario Kart too.
And I'm reminded so much of like when people said the Minecraft movie was going to suck and it's terrible and it's cringe. And then it became like the best selling video game movie.
Little brother's seen it twice.
Like ever or something. Or Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where people were like, these games run like shit. Game Freak's so lazy. Same with
to front.
Same with like Dexit back in Gen 8. And then like these games just come out and like they just sell anyway. And it's like, I don't know. It almost makes me like, you almost have to, I guess, throw your hands up in defeat at some point where you begin to realize that the issues that we maybe inflate on the internet, whether it's like this movie's cringy or this casting of this character is going to ruin this series or like this artist fell off or whatever, then they're just like normal people who just don't care. And they're
not tweeting.
They're not on Twitter. They're not on, Discord and subreddits and stuff.
They're not on Reddit.
But you know where they are?
At GameStop.
And Walmart and everywhere else buying this Switch 2. So
capitalism always wins. The house is capitalism, and it does not pay to bet against it.
Now, that's not to say that like I'm saying that as a gleeful victory. I think I made it pretty clear. I'm not like rooting for or not rooting for these consoles to sell well.
I do not have Nintendo stock. Them doing well does not affect me.
But I do think that it's just, it's almost a good zooming out. Some just like a good reminder that don't lose yourself too much in the internet conversation of things.
Whoa, we're a podcast, Paul. The internet conversation.
Well, that's true. Sorry, I take it back. We're the only people you can trust.
And the only podcast on the internet.
We're trustworthy. We know what we're talking about. We're experts and analysts in the video game field. So
geniuses, honest, hypocrites.
We're objective.
That's right.
No, but seriously though, just a reminder, like if you want to get a Switch 2, like don't feel ashamed of buying a Switch 2. You're not betraying something. Like I know like there's some people who are like, you guys maybe you're supposed to boycott like Nintendo and not buy it and stick it to them. Just buy what you want. Like that's kind of that's how that goes.
Just for the love of God, don't get it on credit.
Don't do that.
I heard I did hear about a payment plan someone's on with their Switch 2. Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, no, that is general financial advice. You definitely
don't need it that bad.
I do not like, this is like a tangent. I don't like the rise of just this. Every single company seems like it's offering some financing plan for like, did you know? Okay, I was on a website once, Lord. And there was something that was like $12. I don't remember what I was buying. Like you can finance this $12 like USB-C cable purchase.
That's how my PayPal offers me a pay in 4 option for literally anything, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and there's like this one company, it's called like Zeno or Zillow or something, where you can just whatever it is, you can just finance anything you want now. And I would strongly advise people, particularly like if you're kind of young, it seems attractive to be able to finance things. Don't do that. That is how you can end up in a mountain of debt without noticing that you're in a mountain of debt.
They'll tell you, it helps you build credit, but maybe build credit on things that are, more important than a gaming device.
Yeah, and then some of these places don't even like actually report to credit agencies. Like you're just in debt to them, and like they won't report, so it wouldn't improve your credit score anyway.
I just think it's so crazy to go into debt to get a Switch 2 week 1 when we don't have games for it. I mean, yes, you have the entire Switch 1 catalog and I guess the new Mario Kart.
But there's not much beyond that.
Come on, man. At that point, you are really letting FOMO and the internet just control your wallet at that point.
Ultimately, for me, it just comes down to like buy things that you want to buy, not things that like the internet has told you need to be a part of. Okay, now here's the next part, just to get back to it. So it's clear that Nintendo was able to meet pent-up demand for a Switch successor by having ample inventory on hand in key markets. So Switch 2 pre-orders sold out across major retailers in the US ahead of launch, but there was still stock available on launch day for those that were willing to take a chance in the morning or line up at night. And this gets into my small little anecdote, which is that I told myself, okay, I'm going to just stroll up to a GameStop or a Walmart on launch day, not when their doors open, but just like in the middle of the day, and see if there would be a Switch 2 available for purchase if I was to be a customer wanting one. I did not end up buying one, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that the local GameStop had extra Switch 2s on hand. And also so
so maybe Nintendo, they couldn't sell all their stock. Maybe the Switch 2 is not as hot as they say it is.
Yeah, it was funny because I remember seeing on the internet, people were like, there's like Switches sitting on the shelves. So like Switch 2 sitting on the shelves, that means that like it's a flop.
Flopped.
Like it's a flop, it's a failure. But then also, I guess even if they'd all been sold out, then I guess people would be complaining that like Nintendo botched this launch and couldn't provide enough, and now there's scalpers everywhere. So I actually would say that it is a good like ending that you can just go to Walmart, because that's how consoles are supposed to be. Like I think we've lost track of the fact that you're supposed to just be able to go into a store and buy a thing.
Yes.
Like a thing selling out and being scalped isn't I mean, I guess it's a sign of popularity, but like that's not like a good metric to really have for normal people.
I mean, selling out, that's missed sales, right? If you sell out, that means there's people who want the product and they can't buy it, and now their money will have to go to somebody else. It's better to be able to meet the initial rush of demand and then be able to make a sale on all the people who come afterwards as well.
Right. So that's the Switch 2, everybody. Let us know, like I said, if you bought one or maybe plan to buy one. I think we both agree that we'll probably get one when, like Pokemon comes out, perhaps?
Probably. I got to look at my finances. I might still be boycotting. So at the end of Sony's State of Play last week, they had a bit of a surprise for everybody. I don't know why I'm leading into it like that. By now, you've all heard about it. Marvel Tokon, Fighting Souls, is a new 4v4 fighting game featuring the Marvel superheroes you know and love from the X-Men, the Avengers, insert Marvel team. They're probably in it. Because it's a 4v4, it's going to have to have a fairly huge roster. This
is being developed by Arc System Works, which is kind of a huge deal. They're the people who make, is it Guilty Gear?
Guilty Gear, Blaze Blue, Dragon Ball Fighters. I forget the name of that other game. They've got a few under their belt. They make the really crisp-looking anime fighters. That's their thing. They have that 2D, 3D situation that just looks...
Yeah, so it wasn't sort of the selling point, because I remember when we were watching this, it took a lot of people by surprise.
Boy, did it.
This is the first Marvel fighting game that's not developed by Capcom.
Yeah, I think that's the first surprise.
Yeah.
When the trailer started, I quickly noticed, okay, it's like a team-based fighter. So I'm thinking they're going to announce this as a new Marvel vs. Capcom title. And then it became very apparent it wasn't. And honestly, that made me very happy, because Marvel vs. Capcom fell off, and it fell off hard.
Yeah, I know some people kind of felt like that franchise itself was sort of done dirty, I guess, by Capcom in some way. I didn't follow it very closely, though.
It's hard since team fighters are not really my bag. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was my Marvel vs. Capcom experience. So I did at least play the following Marvel vs. Capcom games. It's not a lot. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 had a huge roster. And it came out at a time where a lot of people were young, and so we grew up with that roster. And then subsequent Marvel vs. Capcom games, like Marvel vs. Capcom like 3 and Infinite, the rosters were limited. They felt cherry-picked. And at one point, it felt like they were just adding in MCU characters just for the hell of it.
So what do you think of the roster that we've seen so far here?
So we don't know the full roster yet. Let me see. Can I get a list of what we know?
I remember there was like Iron Man and Captain America, of course.
Iron Man, Captain America. We saw Miss Marvel, Ghost Rider.
Was that Storm who was one of the characters?
Storm was there. Was there a Hulk? I feel like there wasn't.
That was like Doctor Doom, I think.
Yeah, Doom was there. Was Doom there?
Yeah, or is that Doctor Doom, like in green, sort of?
I think the guy that was Doctor Doom. That was Doctor Doom.
I'm not super familiar with these iterations of the characters, but something that was actually surprising to me was that it had such a slightly different, more like anime-ish art style, which I guess that fits. It's like an Arc System Works game.
But they took it a step further than that. They stylized each character to seem like an anime version of that character. It wasn't just the MCU's Iron Man drawn in an anime style. He actually has like these like kind of Gundam and Tokusatsu elements.
Oh, yeah, he felt like he was like a mobile suit. It's also interesting that they gave Captain America like this really cool jacket. I just feel like I've never really seen him sort of depicted that way.
I thought it was a cool look for him. Okay, I got the list that we know so far. It was Captain America, Iron Man, Miss Marvel, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, who I always forget about, Storm, Doctor Doom, and Ghost Rider. Specifically the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider that not many people will be familiar with, but he is all around cooler than our original Ghost Rider, though, no disrespect to Nicolas Cage.
Something that's interesting too is this a 4v4 team fighter, like tag fighter?
Yes.
I always thought that it went up to 3v3, but they were saying in that documentary sort of preview thing that they were like, yeah, we're like kicking it up a notch. We're going to do 4v4. Like, that sounds nautical.
Yeah, see, for me, that's actually always been my issue with tag fighters. I don't really want to have to learn more than one character.
I know, and having to learn 4 sounds
is
taxing.
A lot. However, we also heard in the little documentary style thing that was after the trailer that the system that this game is designed around is supposed to be able to meet you where you're at. You can switch between your 4 different characters to change up the matchup at a moment's notice. Or you can actually just play as a single character and then use your other 3 as kind of assist support style characters where you only ever have to really use your one moveset.
Yeah, that seems really interesting. I think that's probably one of the ways they're going to try to make this a little bit more accessible, or at least not as daunting. Now, I will say, I have only very lightly dabbled in Arc System Works fighters. They're known for being kind of rough. Like, I mean, fighting games as a general thing are not
for the faint of heart.
They're not for the faint of heart. Some have made some accessibility strides. Like I know Street Fighter 6's what's it called? Traditional versus modern controls.
Modern versus classic.
Yeah, where you can kind of automate some of the combos and the gameplay. But like as a general thing, I think fighting games are attractive, from a distance. A lot of people recognize the characters and they recognize oh cool, Mortal Kombat, finish him. But then you start playing these games and you realize you get outskilled in this stuff and you only have yourself to blame.
You play a first to 5 and go 0-5, get clapped up real quick, you quit the game forever.
And so when I heard about this game, I remembered, okay, Marvel is obviously a really huge IP and a great thing to collaborate with and make a game around. We've seen the success of Marvel Rivals. It's been huge. Yeah. But the difference with a game like Marvel Rivals is it's a fun little team shooter where you can kind of just always fall back on the excuse that your teammates sucked, right? I got a bad team.
You always blame your teammates.
The other team was too good or whatever. But with fighting games, it's a much more much more personal
pure
blame
experience.
So
just you and your opponent.
And it makes me wonder, are they going to kind of have some accessibility features here? Just because this game got so much attention being a surprise at the end of a state of play. So there will be normies who will want to try this out. And I'm curious what sort of concessions they might make so that person can not feel overwhelmed.
Accessibility, like if they're smart, accessibility should be foremost on their minds. We've seen how well accessible options have gone over for fighting games. Maybe not for hardcore traditional fighting game players, but for just broader appeal of games, accessibility options are key. Any way you can limit my interaction with the other 3 characters on my team gives me a higher chance of actually playing and sticking with this game. So I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no fighting game I dislike, but I will touch a team fighter once and then never again.
So the last gaming thing that I wanted to talk about was the announcement of the ROG Xbox Ally handheld gaming device. This is actually something that we are reading a rumor about. Like there was a leak a few weeks back.
I do remember.
It did get formally revealed. Some people are calling this, the Xbox handheld. I don't know if I would necessarily go quite that far. But what it effectively is the ROG Ally is another one of these like sort of handheld PC things in the same vein as the Steam Deck, and there are obviously a few others. But this one is sort of partnered with Xbox, so it's sort of like an official Xbox.
It's a collab.
It's a collab, yeah. It's like a modern kind of term for it, a collab. And I thought it was interesting because people have obviously always wanted like to see like what if there was like a handheld Xbox, and this is like halfway there. What the main selling point of it is that it runs Windows, but traditionally Windows on these handheld PCs has been a really bad experience because when you are loading up like the Windows operating system, there's a lot of redundant junk that kind of loads up in the background. Task manager type just things that don't have anything to do with your gaming experience, but will still drain your battery and still eat up RAM. And so the special like Xbox sort of menu UI thing that they've developed for this is supposed to be designed to minimize all those background processes or not load them entirely and streamline the experience where your games are easy to find. It's easy to jump between apps. You can have your entire collective game library available to you, even from things like the Epic Game Store or like your Steam library, in addition to whatever you have from the Xbox Store and like Game Pass Ultimate.
Okay, sounds pretty decent.
And yeah, like that's kind of it. There's like 2 versions of it. There's the ROG Xbox Ally and then the Xbox Ally X.
They couldn't just keep it simple, could they? They gotta keep with this stupid SX nonsense.
I have to say, man, this is coming from somebody who I don't have a dog in the fight of like the console wars, but Microsoft fucking sucks at naming things. The original Xbox, good, thumbs up from me. Xbox 360, pretty good.
Weird.
Became iconic though. So like you get a pass. Xbox One as their third thing.
Xbox One was bullshit.
Why is your third Xbox called the Xbox One? And then Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. Why would you call a console Xbox Series? I'm just like,
at this point, I think they troll us with naming their products. I think they want it to be confusing. They want it to seem as uninviting as possible from people who don't understand.
Yeah, so I don't like the naming schemes, but basically the Xbox Ally is kind of your base version of it, which will have like slightly lower specs, and then the Ally X will have like the higher specs one. The first one comes in white, the second one comes in black. So black is for the extreme gamers, and it also reflects the way the Series S and X kind of work, where the Series S is the lower end one, and it's like the cute little white console, and the black one's for like
real gamers.
Real gamer.
They have real gamer money.
Now, Microsoft has not revealed pricing yet for the devices, but it stands to reason they'll be in the same ballpark as the current ROG Ally systems, which cost up to $800 for the Ally X, which is high. What do we think of all this? Sorry, I know I just went on this whole thing. My first thought
is funny they'd announced this so close to the release of the Nintendo Switch 2.
I don't even think those are competitors because that price seems so high.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, though, maybe they felt if we can get this announcement out there while people are still saying, like, I don't know if I want to switch to.
Oh, like it can look like a viable alternative.
This is you could say this is a higher spec version of what you might get with Nintendo Switch 2, because we'll let you know a little secret. You can still play Nintendo games on here. Shh, don't tell Nintendo. Shh, don't tell.
Yeah, I don't know if they really want you to do emulators on it, but, I mean, people find ways with Steam Decks.
They always do.
I thought that it was a cool announcement.
I saw someone emulate Pokemon Red on a refrigerator.
That's okay. Play Pokemon Red on your smart fridge in the morning.
Yep.
I think that this thing, I have two major thoughts with this. It is good that Microsoft is getting kind of more directly involved in that handheld PC sort of thing space. It's a growing market. The Steam Deck has been really popular. So it's good for Microsoft to kind of get in that neighborhood, in that room. I think that this thing is just so expensive, though. It just feels prohibitively high. Like, because I was looking at the prices of the existing ROG Ally, and like it starts at something like $650, and then like the highest end version is like $899 or $850 or something like that. And it's just, when you think of the Xbox Series X, which costs like $450 maybe or something like that, for the handheld. Okay,
you're thinking about this wrong. You gotta think about what all you're getting that Xbox Series whatever can't even do.
What are you getting? I don't really know.
I mean, you're getting your access to an entire Steam library, your whole Epic library, your Microsoft library, all in one place. That's way more than what the Xbox normally can do.
I guess so.
And you can take it wherever you want. You get that portability. You have real hardware on the go with your entire library. You're going to have to pay more. Now, is it $800 more? Is it $1,200 more? I don't know. This is not a product for the regular man. This is a product for the super gamer.
Yeah, this seems like this is
who has a lot of extra money. Because
thing.
You're not, come on now. Like, we're talking smartphone prices at this point.
Yeah, I know. It just
and
seems
people
really
who
high.
do payment plans on those.
Now, you know what the honest truth about this whole thing is just that this is kind of a signal of how Microsoft really just wants you to have Game Pass. Like, because this is an operating system that they can likely throw onto other devices too. And what it's really more so about is like, you'd only get this if you had a Game Pass Ultimate subscription or whatever, like where you're getting all those monthly games. Like that's kind of that's where I see, like, that seems like the intersection of the consumer.
If you look at my Steam library, you just tell me to buy one.
I guess so. But it's like, if you have a large Steam library, that would sort of suggest to me that you already have a PC that's capable of doing this.
I can't take it with me when I...
Well, yeah, it's the portability that I guess that you want there, so... I don't know. I thought it was a neat product. I'm interested in seeing, like...
And now I can be buried with my PC games.
Where it goes.
Which I guess I could still be buried with my PC.
Yeah, you could. Bury with the PC. And
I will request to be buried with my PC, but my hard drive must be wiped.
Like, Alec has lost the plot at this point. The point is, the ROG Ally X, it's coming out. I'll be frank, I'm not buying one. I don't have any interest. My brother-in-law has an ROG Ally. He showed it to me. I thought it looked cool, but I already have a Steam Deck, and I'm struggling to even find reasons to play that thing. So, yeah.
I could be convinced if I weren't boycotting everything. So right now I'm boycotting it. And I don't know when I'll not be boycotting, but I would like not to.
Yeah, eventually you won't be.
Hopefully.
That's your Xbox ROG Ally collab console thing.
Disney and Universal sue Midjourney for making AI ripoffs of their biggest characters.
You know, Alec, we went a few weeks without talking about AI on this podcast.
And here we are.
We went a few
back
weeks.
Again.
We went a few weeks.
Did you miss it? We sure didn't.
All right, let's hear what's going on. Who's getting sued? What did AI steal this time?
On Wednesday, Disney Universal officially sued Midjourney for generating Shrek, Darth Vader, Buzz Lightyear, and a host of other copyrighted characters in the first major legal showdown between Hollywood and generative AI. The complaint, filed in a U.S. District Court in Central California, calls Midjourney's AI image generator a virtual vending machine, generating endless unauthorized copies of Disney's and Universal's copyrighted work.
I like that their wording's kind of
they're
sharp
going after
there.
it. They're going after it. By helping itself to plaintiffs' copyrighted works and then distributing images and soon videos that blatantly incorporate and copy Disney's and Universal's famous characters without investing a penny in their creation, Midjourney is the quintessential copyright-free writer and a bottomless pit of plagiarism.
Damn, Alec, did you write the lawsuit?
I
that
wish.
Sounds like something you'd say.
I wish they got in that ass. I am here for it.
Yeah, I'm reading this. It says, for example, if a Midjourney subscriber prompts the AI tool to generate an image of Darth Vader, it immediately obliges, according to the plaintiffs. And the same occurs for images of minions. So Disney and Universal included dozens of example images such as Yoda, Wall-E, Deadpool, Iron Man, Lightning McQueen, Aladdin, Spider-Man, Groot, Elsa from Frozen, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Star Wars characters, including Stormtroopers, Chewbacca, R2-D2, C-3PO, all allegedly generated by Midjourney.
But how many of those characters you knew?
I've actually seen most of them. I don't know much about Star Wars though, but you know that.
That's fair. But
what do you think?
Yeah, this was a long time coming. Most of the AI image generating like software you can find online doesn't allow. They don't allow you to make copyrighted characters. They can make close like kind of alt versions of them, but they'll usually stop short of actually generating the character. Midjourney was known for being able to do that, and I don't know why they thought they'd be able to keep getting away with it.
Although I'll tell you something, man. I feel like all these AIs have been getting a lot more lax about that stuff. Because so my Google Pixel recently got it's like called like AI Pixel Studio or something, and you can like type in your basic prompts. And it's supposed to be like for sending to your friends. Mm-hmm. They'll let you like type in Pokemon and stuff. It's kind of weird. Like it will make me an image of Bulbasaur, and it kind of made me think like, are they just? Is there like certain stuff it won't make? Is there certain stuff it will? Because it feels like they're just letting the guardrails go, and you just whatever happens. So, anywho, yeah, like I hope I don't know what winning this lawsuit will look like for them. I guess this case is not a close call under Wells' settled copyright law. The plaintiffs write this is textbook copyright infringement. So I guess what they're looking for
they're getting in that ass.
They want this shit like either I guess. Maybe not shut down, but like they literally want you to not be able to type in a character that is trademarked.
I mean, they're going to be seeking a stupid number. I mean, it's unlikely because for both Universal and Disney to bring the lawsuit, I don't know the situation with the company that runs Midjourney. I don't know how they operate, where they operate, who operates it. But what I do know is if Universal and Disney are both bringing the same lawsuit, they're about to put you under the cement.
Yeah, that's true. They say Midjourney did not immediately respond to a request for comment, which that is not surprising to me. You don't want Disney on your ass. I'll say this. Like, this is, I know on this podcast we tend to be pretty like anti-AI. I want them to win this because I think that I would actually feel better overall about AI if it was not like blatantly just stealing, because this isn't like, you can have limited sympathy for the idea of like big bad company Disney fighting for like Star Wars and stuff. Like I get it, Disney has its own skeletons in the closet, but I'm just saying that like the fact that it can just replicate anything, which could be something that like a small creator made or a small artist made, and just like it's all stolen artwork that's just like being regurgitated. If my little line in the sand, right, with AI is like, I don't mind it for synthesizing some article, right? Or maybe helping you rewrite your notes from school or something. That's whatever. But I think that like the art theft is the big draw for me. So for
me, it's anything creative. I hate the idea of people quote unquote creating with AI.
Yeah, so, and I've got like my exceptions to that. We've talked about those as well, like whatever. But yeah, when it comes to like literally just like it can spit out a Yoda image for you and then you could put that on a shirt and sell it. Like I see why.
What if it had the right number of fingers?
So. Nowadays it does. So
yeah, it is terrifying how much better AI art is today than it was when we first started talking about it. And the effort people put into covering up their AI art's mistakes too.
Yeah, and I mean it's getting better and better. It's harder to tell what is and isn't.
I can't even enjoy smut anymore. I was telling Paul the other day, I was like, I find myself overanalyzing smutty pictures online to like find out if it's AI and how it's AI and finding the issues with it.
Not even ethically goon to this is what.
Yeah. Exactly. Can't even just enjoy smut because I first have to figure out if it's AI or not.
Thanks for sharing with the class. Well, anyway, I think that's a great segue into the final thing, which is us covering this negative review that somebody left on the pod.
Yeah, here we go.
As the light blasts me directly in the eyes, we will finish strong because people asked for this.
I don't feel it.
We emptied the pot last episode, so I don't have any new questions for this week, but I think that this will more than suffice. This is a 1-star review that somebody left. Their name is ATL0202. So here's the
ATL0202.
You guys know that when it comes to handling negative reviews, we like to tackle them head on. So I actually have not fully read this yet.
I don't know it at all.
I was going to do it a few weeks ago, but I decided it'd be more fun to do it live. 1 star for my favorite weekly podcast, question mark? I don't know why the question mark. This is always my fave podcast from the jump. See, that's where he's wrong already. It's not your favorite podcast. It's the only one.
It's the only one. There can't be an option.
No, but and I've always considered Paul one of the YugiTube goats. But retro Yu-Gi-Oh hate has gotten frustrating. For a general/casual Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, you'd think the pod would embrace things like Edison UTW topping lists and emerging new retro formats for the vast majority of us 30 listeners. 30?
I think like 30, like
age
30-year-old, like
okay.
in their 30s.
Rather, anytime Edison or GOAT is mentioned in the pod is often followed by, these are just snapshot formats though, and move on to continue gushing over Master Duel. Me. Look, I'm not saying Paul is going to suddenly embrace Edison or GOAT, etc., but I implore the pod to try a Time Wizard local tournament, or at least include a retro Yu-Gi-Oh update segment in the pod. I'll keep listening to the pod and praying for change each week. I guess this is slightly different, like, sort of negative review.
That's true. This is more of an advocation for a type of content that we neglect.
I think that contextually speaking, it's probably important to mention, this was left in the middle of May. So this is before the latest updates around these Time Wizard formats that Konami kind of seems to be.
That's true, because it does feel weird because we just spoke at length about Time Wizard formats, and now...
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, this seems like this is more directed towards me, because you actually have Edison decks, don't you?
I mean, I have Edison decks, but it's not like I really talk about Edison or even follow the Edison format. I just have decks. And there is likely a population of our listeners who play Time Wizard formats and will probably appreciate us covering their formats. But this is a cruel reality. Like the same way everyone wants to talk about their favorite or second favorite card game, we kind of can't cover everybody's favorite or second favorite formats.
Yeah, my thing too is like, I try to be careful when I like call like these formats snapshot formats, because what I'm saying when I describe them that way is like, this just happens to be a reason why I am not drawn to them, not an objective detriment to the formats. Mm-hmm. Clearly a lot of people like GOAT, and clearly a lot of people like Edison and Hat format, and even like Toss formats when like picking up Steam, and even like the 2012 format. I'm aware that these things are happening, and I certainly wouldn't dissuade anyone from playing them. Like, if you like them already, that's even better, but like, if you were ever considering trying out a Time Wizard format, please don't let me be the person to stop you just because I say it's like maybe not for me. But
they want representation, Paul.
Well, I guess here's a silver lining I can give. I happen to be in contact with one of the top Time Wizard like Edison players. So he's actually the person I got that Pot of Greed in the background from. And I was going to maybe do some videos where I chatted with him about what he thinks of these new Konami changes, and maybe somewhere down the line we were sort of like workshopping a video where he might like sort of teach me Edison or something, because he's like, you know, a few hours away, and so we could like meet up and play a little bit of Edison. I could perhaps even investigate what Neo Edison is looking like.
Neo New Edison.
Because it actually has me sort of curious. Like, I sometimes feel a little intimidated by the fact that like so much of Edison gets explored now. Mm. And I'm just like, like, I feel like I'd have so much catching up to do, but maybe now that like it's having to be a little bit relearned, that could be like an opportunity to hop in. I will not promise anybody that I'm going to actually become an Edison player. I think that's unrealistic.
Paul's going to start dressing like it's like 2010.
Wearing my, what would be the brands back then?
In 2010?
2010? Did people wear like FUBU?
Those were the lost years.
Hot Topic? Like, I don't know.
I mean, Hot Topic was certainly a thing back then.
I don't know what brand people were.
Look, in 2010, I was in school, and so I wore my school uniform.
Okay. Yeah. So Converse? Would people wear, was that kind of a
I
popular?
mean, people wear Converse.
They still wear them today, but I guess like was it like really popular then? I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. At least where I'm from, everyone had a school uniform on. I didn't know it was popular.
All
It was so
cosplay.
bad. I was dressing like it was '05 in 2011.
All cosplay is Billy Brake because he was like an Edison sort of. I think like that was one of his big.
What does a Billy Brake cosplay look like?
Konami outfit these days, I guess. Anyway, yeah, so I might be investigating that a little bit, but to clarify, you know, like I don't hate these formats, and I certainly don't dissuade anyone from trying them. I just am not drawn to them.
Try not to sound so dismissive when we talk about these formats.
Okay.
Let these formats feel seen. Give them the time of due, you know. And I don't have to boycott them because I already have the cards.
That's true. So because Alec has his Edison decks, he will now be in charge of the weekly Edison update.
Yeah, and Paul's going to have to play them.
All right. Well, thanks for the review. We do appreciate it. I'll try to be a little bit more thoughtful about the way that I cover these things. And I'm going to be curious about the developments around the new Time Wizard format.
And you know what? We're going to take it a step further. We care so much about this review. We're going to rebrand the pod because, you know, it's based off the Pot of Greed. Well, now we're going to base it off the Time Wizard. So you can now call this podcast...
The Wizard of Greed. I don't fucking know.
I was hoping to come up with something in the moment. It did not work. Something about wizards. I don't know.
Wizards of the Coast.
That's a whole other thing.
Time Wizards of the Coast.
We'll get sued.
Thanks for tuning in this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to give the video a thumbs up. Leave a comment under the video as well. I know, like, if you were in the premiere, you might be like, well, okay, I've already been chatting.
Chat.
But the comments help with the algorithm. I really need that. And if you really want to support the podcast, you can also become a channel member and check out our bonus episodes.
And if you don't know what to leave in the comments, give us ideas of how we could name the pod after Time Wizard.
Yeah, there's a prompt. All right, we will see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.